Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Bullspit podcast. I'm your host, Cash. I look forward to jumping in to this upcoming weekend's action. The Gambler Days in Austin. They always put on a great event there at the Moody Center. Of course, a bunch of fan festivities leading up to the event. And I'm going to be out there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This is going to be my first PBR team event to be a part of the media. Looking forward to that experience. Hopefully to bring you some exclusive content and interviews from the Bull Riders. Of course, we're always going to jump into our top 5 power rankings for the riders, top 5 power rankings for the teams, and our top 3 matchups of the weekend. Then we're going to dive into every matchup and pick each one. We bounced back a little bit last week, a 7-5 effort there in Nashville. 23-20 and 1 tie on the record this season. See if we can continue that streak and bump that up a little bit. Let's jump into the action. And of course, we're always going to jump into our storylines leading up to the Gambler Days. We had a big event last weekend in Nashville, the Stampede Days. Really some big matchups, some big scores from the Riders and the Bulls, and made for a heck of a weekend. I look forward to more of the same this weekend. Storylines, though, we're talking about Carolina. Carolina. It's always Carolina. They had some big matchups last week. They beat the Stampede, the Gamblers, and they didn't have their best game. They didn't have their A game. They switched the lineup up a few times to give Adriano Salgado a little bit of a break, but they still win. They find ways to win. They are savvy vets, and they get it done. Great job for Carolina. And Kansas City has moved up 2 spots. They get big rides last weekend from Colton Hevelo getting his first 90-point ride of the year, or of his career, actually. And Casio Diaz makes a big bounce back with 92.5 in the shootout round on Friday. They get some big wins. They are in the number 2 spot in the standings. And guess what? They get to face off against number 1 Carolina, opening matchup on Saturday. That's going to be a big one. We'll see if they can compete. And one more thing to dive into before we get into the rankings. We got some teams in the danger zone. It's really, the cream has rose to the top, as they say. And we have 5 teams in that danger zone. The Wildcatters, Ridge Riders, Freedom, Mavericks, and Rattlers. They've had some wins. They've had some big wins. All of these teams have done good jobs at points. They've all also put up multiple 0-point outings for the team this season. They are not in, we're not DEFCON 5 yet, but we're getting there. We're almost halfway through the season. After this week, we will have completed half of the season, and it's down to the nut cutting. Let's see if these teams can pick up some wins and really start to build some momentum for the back half of the season. Let's jump into our team power rankings. Again, this is not necessarily line up with the MVP standings. This is more of who is hot coming off of last week's events, and also adding in some of the full season events also. But at number 5, we are going with the Austin Gamblers. They are 6-5. Down 3 spots from last week. They have a rough go of it in Nashville. They come out hot, beating the Freedom on Friday night. They ride their first 2 Bulls against Carolina on Saturday, and you feel like they are finally the team that's going to get it done. And then they don't ride again. Carolina comes back and wins that one, and they don't have a bounce-back performance riding 0 Bulls against the Outlaws. Not going to get it done, but that team is hungry. I had a chance to meet with some of the guys yesterday, and you can tell that it's business. And they're going to show up and show out. They have the Mavericks, Rattlers, and Thunder this weekend. All 3 very winnable games, but they have to ride their Bulls. Let's see if they can bounce back in front of the home crowd. At number 4 in our power rankings, we have the Missouri Thunder. I think this might be the first time they've shown up in our top 5 power rankings list this season. They have started to put together some really good rides. Started a couple weeks ago with Briggs Madsen. Paulo Eduardo Rossetto has been the mainstay for them. That guy goes left, he goes right, it doesn't matter. He's going to ride the Bulls. He is becoming a big-time guy, a future superstar in this league, I feel. And Boudreaux Campbell has started to add things in. He got 92.5 last weekend in a Saturday shootout win. Pretty amazing stuff. Good for the Missouri Thunder. They're 5-7, up 3 spots from last week. They have a bye Friday, Stampede Saturday, and Gambler Sunday. It's going to be a tough weekend for them. Let's see if they can continue that momentum. At number 3 in the power rankings, we have the Nashville Stampede. Caden Loud made a loud return last weekend in Nashville. He closes it out for them on Saturday and Sunday to get wins for them, and it was something they had to have him, and he got it done. That guy is big time. He's quiet, but his bull riding does the talking. Big time from them. They have a good weekend, 2-1 last week, only losing to the Carolina Cowboys. They have the Freedom Friday and the Thunder Saturday and a bye on Sunday. Let's see if the Nashville Stampede can continue that success from last week. Silvano Alves will be getting in on the rides. Cody Jesus had his first ride last week and also as a Nashville Stampede member. Alan De Souza, they have the team, and I think they can do some damage. Good luck to them this weekend in Austin. At number 2, the Kansas City Outlaws made some big statements last weekend. They're up to, from last week, 7-4 overall on the season. They have the Rattlers on Friday and the Cowboys on Saturday. That's a big one I'm going to have circled. It's going to be our number 1 matchup for sure. See if they can compete with the best. Carolina has yet to be beaten. Kansas City has the people to do it. Colton Hevelo gets his first 90-point ride of many in his career, I'm sure, last weekend. And then Casio Diaz adds in 92.5 on Friday night to make a big statement, bounce back. Julio Cesar Marquez, Sandro Batista have been doing great for them. That team has the guys. Let's see if they can get it done. And I'm sure people are tired of me talking about the Carolina Cowboys, but give them the respect that's due. 10-0-1 through 11 games this season. That is a big time. They had some big matchups last week, didn't have their A game, but they still find a way to get it done with their vets. Sage Kimzey is up to number 3 in the MVP standings. Cooper Davis still there sitting at 4. They have the guys. I'm interested to see that matchup against some of those superstars from Kansas City on Saturday. But until somebody proves them wrong, I'll be talking about them every week. Now we get to jump into our rider power rankings. Again, not necessarily matching up with the MVP standings. At number 5, we're going with Cooper Davis. He's been in our top 5 power rankings pretty much all season. He is leading off for the Carolina Cowboys and really been that fire starter for them. Again, such a disadvantage to have to go up against somebody like that can put up 89, 90-point rides, and you find yourself behind already after one bull. He did get bucked off a couple times last week. I'm sure he's a little bit mad about that. Probably doesn't sit with him quite the right way. Got to listen to his interview on the PBR post game, and you could tell that he's going to get back to work, and he'll be back this week. Cooper Davis at number 5 in our power ranking. At number 4, we're going with John Crimber. A little bit of a disservice to him, honestly. He didn't get a ride last weekend. I'm sure he is ticked. You could tell it bothered him quite a bit. Let's see if he harnesses that energy correctly and comes back this weekend ready to go. I bet he does. We'll see. He's still at number 2 in the MVP standings, right behind Jose Vitor Leme. But just because of that, failure last weekend, I bumped him down a little bit. John Crimber at number 4 in the power rankings. At number 3, we have Paulo Eduardo Rossetto, Missouri Thunder captain. For all I say, he is their MVP. He is ambidextrous. He goes left, he goes right, and he makes big bull riding scores no matter what's happening. He has been the guy that has really pushed the Thunder. They've started to make a little bit of a comeback. You can see a lot more fight from them. He's getting some help from his teammates. He's had a wonderful season. He's at number 3 in our power rankings. At number 2, we have Sage Steele Kimzey, the Carolina Cowboys closer. He helped them last weekend twice in some big ways, getting the win for them. He's a savvy vet. He's headstrong, and he knows how to ride bulls. He's done a great job for them, and him and Cooper Davis are a deadly tandem, and that is one of the many reasons they are so successful. Sage Kimzey at number 2. At number 1, we're staying with Jose Vitor Leme. He started out last week with a 91 and a quarter in the shootout round. Unfortunately, wasn't quite enough to get it done for them. But he falls off on Saturday and Sunday, something that he is not used to. We're not used to seeing from him. If you know him, he's a competitor. He works in silence and he works hard. I guarantee you he will be back, and I would not be surprised to see a really big bull score and bull riding score from him this weekend. We get to jump into our matchups now. Again, we're going to go through and pick out every game. We're sitting at 23-20 and 1 tie for the year. Not too shabby if you ask me. These guys this year have been competitive. Very, very much different from the first year, I feel like. You can really see the depth in these teams. You have 6 men that can go out there and put up 89-point, 90-point rides. It's been fun choosing these games. But let's jump into our Friday matchups. Starting out, Florida Freedom versus Nashville Stampede. Nashville has been on the up as of lately, turning their season around, and they sit at 7-5 on the season. The Freedom have been on decline, sitting at 4-7. I feel like they're due. John Crimber is not going to get bucked off too many more times. They switch up their lineup a little bit. Let's see if it gives them just a new look at things. And I'm going to go with the Freedom to get the win over the Stampede to start things out Friday. Our matchup number 2 on Friday is going to be the Oklahoma Wildcatters versus the Arizona Ridge Riders. Two teams very comparable in their seasons. Started out kind of hot, lackluster lately, not getting as many rides, both having over performances over the past couple weeks. Oklahoma Wildcatters get Josh Frost back this weekend. He was not with them last week. They have Clay Guyton, Court McFadden, Eduardo Matos. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. He really has been their MVP this year. On the other side, the Ridge Riders. Keyshawn Whitehorse started hot, starting to fall off a little bit. Eduardo Aparecido has been doing his job lately. Let's see if Luciano De Castro, Nick Tetz can get in on things. I'm going to give the edge to the Wildcatters on Friday night. Matchup number 3 pits the Texas Rattlers versus the Kansas City Outlaws. That one is going to be a good one. Again, Texas Rattlers, they had their back up against the wall last week. They show up big time, winning 2 games. And Kansas City Outlaws also, showed up and got 2 big wins last weekend. The Rattlers are on the up, and I like what I saw from them last week in the fight that they had, which I've questioned from them before, but they showed up. But Kansas City Outlaws are just too good for me. I'm giving Kansas City the win on Friday night. And our matchup to close things out, hometown Austin Gamblers versus the New York Mavericks. New York Mavericks have had a lot better outs these past couple of weeks. They're starting to get some guys healthy. Hudson Bolton showed up big time in New York for them. I look for him to continue that success. And we will see. But the Austin Gamblers, in front of their home crowd, coming off a couple of tough losses, I expect them to get the win on Saturday night. Gamblers. Starting out our Saturday with a doozy. Kansas City Outlaws versus Carolina Cowboys. You better be in your seats early. These are the 2 best teams in the league so far this season. Number 1 and number 2 in the standings and are in our own power rankings. They have the gold buckles to show you. They have the young superstars to prove it. Colton Hevelo and Casio Diaz will have to be big. Sandro Batista and Julio Cesar Marquez, they're going to have to get some rides from them. The Cowboys, on the other hand, of course, they're gold buckle winners, and Sage Kinsey, Cooper Davis, and Dalen Swearingen. I've picked 2 teams to beat the Cowboys this year. Oklahoma ended in a tie. Austin ended in a loss by 1/4 point. I'm going with the Kansas City Outlaws to beat the Cowboys for the first time this season. In the second matchup, we will have the New York Mavericks versus Oklahoma Wildcatters. Oklahoma Wildcatters, I think they have a little bit more substance for their team right now. Mavericks, again, are on the up. I just don't think they quite have it yet to compete on a day in and day out basis. Give me the Wildcatters to beat the Mavericks on Saturday night. Our number 2 matchup of the entire weekend is going to be the Nashville Stampede versus the Thunder on Saturday. 2 teams that are really jockeying in that middle position, in the middle of the crowd, in the standings. They need something to really put them over the top and get them going and really slingshot them for the rest of this season. I'm gonna go with the Thunder on this one. They showed some fight recently. Again, Paulo Edwardo has been closing things out for them. They got a big ride from Bujo Cambo recently. And let's see if some of the other guys can continue to add on. Give me the Thunder on Saturday night. And to close things out on Saturday night, we will have the hometown Gamblers versus the Texas Rattlers in the Texas rivalry matchup. What a great matchup. Gives you a little bit of rivalry. Hopefully we have some fans from each there in attendance. It's all good and fun. The Rattlers, again, they've had their back up against the wall. They've caught their breath now after last week. see if they can continue to gain some momentum. They have the Outlaws on Friday, which is a tough one. Gamblers on Saturday, another tough one. I'm going to go with the Austin Gamblers in front of the home crowd to get that one done. And day 3, we're going to start out with the Wildcatters versus the Rattlers on Sunday. Rattlers had a tough go of it. You know, they've had to face some really good teams. I'm going to give the edge to the Rattlers over the Wildcatters on Sunday. And on our second matchup on Sunday, we have the Florida Freedom versus the Arizona Ridge Riders. Teams that have competed against each other before this season. Freedom coming out on top. Two teams that, again, you know, they're roller coaster of season. Both these teams are kind of back up against the wall. I'm going to give the Ridge Riders and their experience with you know, Keyshawn Whitehorse, you know, Eduardo Parasito. I'm going to give that experience the edge on Sunday. Ridge Riders win. And in our number 3 matchup on Sunday, the New York Mavericks versus the Carolina Cowboys. Really two opposite ends of the spectrum as far as the seasons have gone so far this season and their riders' success. I just feel the Cowboys are going to be too much for the Mavericks. You know, they're going to get some rides, and I picked against them every game this weekend. They're gonna get one, but I don't think it's going to be the Cowboys. Cowboys beat the Mavericks on Sunday. And then to close things out for the Gambler Days, we have the Missouri Thunder versus the Austin Gamblers. This is going to be a tough matchup for the hometown Gamblers. The Thunder are hungry. They've been doing well. If the Gamblers can get their superstars to ride, they'll get it done. Dalton Castle has to ride. Kaique Pacheco has to ride. Jose Vitor-Leme has to ride. Those 3 guys ride, they're going to win more times than not. The Missouri Thunder are still searching for some of those extra pieces and the consistency. I'm going to give the edge to the hometown Gamblers in front of the hometown crowd to close things out on Sunday. Well, guys, I can't tell you. I can't contain my excitement for this weekend's Gambler Days. I look forward to being there in person and being able to see everybody up live. You know, bull riding live is something different. If you haven't been able to get out there, or if you live in the area, jump out to the Austin Gambler Days. Tons of fan festivities. The Moody Center does it right. I'll bring you updates throughout the weekend. Of course, we're gonna have some exclusive content and some interviews for you here this coming week. I look forward to checking in with y'all on Saturday and Sunday to talk about the rides the night before. And of course, on Monday, we will have our Gambler Days recap show releasing on YouTube at 5 o'clock. Please follow on socials and like, comment. A view and a share go a long way in the growth. We appreciate you sticking around. Bullspit Pod at TikTok, Bullspit Podcast on YouTube, Bullspit_podcast on Instagram. We will see y'all later.